right now trying to defend against someone who was accused of stabbing a woman. So, But how are you doing? Is there anything we could pray for you about? How was your week so far? I think I've seen you like just a few days ago. I hope you're doing well. So, Finn Zykes is the Reaper of the Bailey. He's a spooky guy. The McCain reading plan. I've never heard of it. Look that up. The McCain Bible reading plan. Oh, it's a 365 reading plan. Cool. Old Testament, New Testament, Psalms, Gospel, everyday duration. Interesting. Dangers, what? Excuse me. There's dangers. Danger? Oh, okay. Does it have some prompts or something when you read it? I don't know. Seems like a lot. I hope you are doing well in it. Alright, let's see what goes. He's calling the witness. No problem. Oh, that's Inspector. He's eating chips or fries, as you say. Alright. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. Okay, we're getting the summary. Let's go. Okay. Victim is a young woman in her 20s, olive green. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since, so she hasn't been able to give any witness testimony. They don't even know who she is. Comatose. Her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray elaborate on the details, Inspector. Alright, we're looking at the street map now. Okay, the incident took place 3 days ago, around 5 in the afternoon, on pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Walking down, out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused. Well, that's just the story, so this is probably not true. Stabbed in the back. Alright, luckily the young lady's life was spared and she currently is being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we are unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Alright, let's take a look at that. We got some evidence to look at. Alright. What of the weapon that was used, so we might get the weapon in our evidence as well. This was removed from the victim's back. That's a pretty big knife. Like a pocket knife. Heavy blade. Almost anyone would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scraggy-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. So we are defending Soseki Natsume. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The courtroom accepts the blade as evidence. Okay, we got a jackknife. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. In that case, we're looking at deep-seated resentment towards the victim, like revenge? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection, so there isn't a connection between Soseki Natsume and Olive Green. Wait. If theft and grievance have been ruled out as motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in total unjustified and heavy-handed way. Yeah, I think we're talking out of line. It's not our turn yet. What? Pray forgive this discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, but your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard doesn't arrest people without good cause, and that should be beyond question. Okay, let's see what are we gonna do. Okay, let's hear our formal testimony from Mr. Gregson. Alrighty. Let's hear it. We're gonna look at the evidence first, though. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, 5 o'clock was when the incident occurred and there was unusually light fog. Okay. Let's look at court record for a second. Case file. Young woman was rendered unconscious following a stab wound around the back. Wound to the back. Female, olive green, stout, early 20, pavement. Officer Rolly beat. So we haven't seen Rolly beat yet. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from a single stab wound, no other signs of injury. Assailant seen running away by the reporting officer and successfully arrested the following day. Okay. We have a second-hand book receipt. We can look at that. Okay, he paid 2 shillings to buy the picture of Monsieur Lecoq and a meal for Gabbro and Canterbury yearnings. Interesting. Go look at that. Flip. It's blunt. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. It's just a tip. A small piece of blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Miss Susato. Wonder what could have happened to it. Yeah. You don't think it could still be lodged to the victim, do you? Oh dear, I hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Let's look behind it. There doesn't seem to be any blood on it, honestly. I guess just flings open. Interesting. As I said, okay. Visibility was reasonably good and there's no one else about it but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor, and those being a number of old books he just bought. He's on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. But then if he was holding those books, why would he stab her? It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to and found the book to arrest him. So we don't really have proof that he stabbed her yet. Oh, we have an extra image. Yes, I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime taken immediately after the incident. Hey, ukulele worship, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well so far. I don't remember if I saw you go on this morning streaming, but I hope your streams have been well and that you've been doing well and your weekend's been well. Right now we are trying to solve who truly did the deed. This is olive green in comatose. Okay, so we can clearly see who the books are from, and that's our friend Soseki Natsume. We'll take the photograph print as evidence. Alright, let's take a look at that too. If you have anything you'd like prayer for, I'd love to pray for you as well. Alright, maybe he's poisoning the well. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Vintikes, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Susato? Go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, as you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had happened. Alright, that's him. As I walked along the accursed pavement, I could make out a whole soul silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was. And, working and lurking. Sweet. Alright, let's see. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, She suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified and had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color? What in the world what will the world come up with next? I guess that's new technology. The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That doesn't mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. He's probably going to object, because there's nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there's nobody else who could have possibly stabbed the woman. Possibly herself? A fact that the accused concedes. Let's see. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there's unusually light fog, so it's very light. Let's hear. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Something I'd expect from a Japanese fellow like you yourself to know, of course. I read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Well, it's not something Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of the year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes, you can't see your own hand at the end of your arm. Wow. Indeed, the other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susato-san and I could definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Mysterious. Alright, visibility was reasonably good, and there's no one else about it but the victim and the accused. Okay, how so? How are you able to state that with any certainty? Well, there's probably some witnesses, right? Because that is what the witnesses of the crime have told us. Ah yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That's correct, ma'am. There, we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will of course call them to the stand, should it be necessary. Alright. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog must have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east, but here in the capital city of Great Britain, all the main roads are illuminated in the night by grass street lights. Okay. Ah, the prosecution believes there would be an ample light in which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witnesses' statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with the testimony, Inspector. Alright. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind, subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Okay, let's press this one too. Okay, from behind, you say? That's right. As you can see from this print, handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition, comatose no less? I'm afraid so, my lord. She's been treated at Bart's. Bart's is probably the hospital. I was hoping that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that's indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of the events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client's been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. The accused ran off and scattered his belongings all over the floor. Let's press that. Okay. Mr. Natsume's belongings, I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the scene of the crime. So there's the books. Probably. 1, 2, 3. 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were, and irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. Alrighty. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means the other hand would have been free to wield a knife. Why would he do that? He is very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He made it extremely hard for you to assume that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we knew it was there. You mean to say the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust this knife into the woman's back? That must have been what's happened, my lord, yes. I doubt it. Alright, those being a number of books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It's just a matter of working out whose books it belonged to, and we found the bloke who arrested him. What do you think, Mr. Naruto? If you're able to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that's what Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yeah, they sure will find him guilty. So one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in this testimony. Still have to finish. Okay. Okay, let's press that. The defendant apparently visits a secondhand bookshop on a daily basis. Yep. So, hey Liam, good to see you. How are you doing so far? We just finished our Bible reading, and so we're on to the second part. What is this? I have a dog! Yay! Alright, so, I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused to the lofty subject matter of this scholarly attention. So we read through Numbers, and this one was the long one where we read through a lot of their family trees. Not family trees necessarily, but like the main heads of each family. So like talking about Reuben, talking about Benjamin, and all the guys, and kind of a census. So kind of see who's left, because previously when we were reading Numbers, it was talking about how Moses and Aaron weren't allowed to go into the promised land, and so did a few other people who were condemned because they wanted to serve God in a different way. So that was Numbers 26, 1 to 51. Then we had Luke 2, so we were covering the part where Jesus was in the temple teaching the teachers there and astounding them, and that was pretty cool. And then he was talking about how, you know, he's the son of God, he's son of the God the Father, he's the son of God the Father, and how that works, but he's still submitted to his parents, earthly parents. And then we also read a bit of Psalms, where it talks about David's fight against his enemies. Traditionally, it's believed to be about his fight with Mesopotamia and Syria. At the beginning of his reign, David's kingly reign. And then we also had Proverbs, where it talks about taking on debt for someone else. So that was Proverbs 1:15. Been listening to Beastie QT. He's playing Age of Empires 4. Pretty cool. Is Age of Empires 4 the newest one? Do you have that game now? I don't know if that comes with Game Pass or whatever. This one. And let's see. Cool. I haven't played much of it. I only watched Kennethan play it a bit. And there was someone else who also played it, but I don't remember. But I hope you enjoy it. I think my brother might be getting it, but I don't think I plan to. Not exactly sure. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Bloke. Our bloke, Natsume. Soseki Natsume. He has his room filled with books. Yep. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Mr. Inspector? Well, if I must, I have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. So where was this book? So that's pretty close. Bourbon Books. So we have, this is our house over here. Soseki's house. This is where Olive Green was hurt. This was the bourbon spot. The books store. Little place in the corner of Bar Road and Mearsham Street. The key is currently living here. It doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. The question is it true that he took it that way? Okay. Been updated with some new info. I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that's the inspector just told us. It turned out to be of vital importance. Bookshop's location? Probably. The crucial detail in what you told the court is the location of the bookshop. Couldn't agree more. So, where is it exactly? I just explained that. I got the map out and everything. Used ink and drew the bloke's route home for you. And I distinctly remember seeing you not along, Counsel. Oh, yeah, of course. Must have been so nervous. The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend. Alright, no, not yet. Trial's only just begun after all. Mr. Hurdo, I would strongly advise you to look carefully through the court record at this stage. Yeah, let's do that. Inspector, continue with your testimony, please. Alright, let's see. What's the matter working out who the books belong to, and we found the bloke arrested him. Let's skip through this bloop, and let's check our... We need to look at our evidence. So we got this crime scene photo, we have 3 books, we have her bag, which is unopened. We should have gotten an update. This is where Natsume dropped his stuff and then went that way. Interesting. Alright. And hold on. So how is this person laid on the street? I'm not exactly sure. There's being a number of books on his way. Matter of working out who the books belong to, and we found out the bloke to arrest him. Okay, we probably have to press the last statement. We haven't done that, I think. So, last statement. Russ. Oh, Sunshine S Games, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Whose emote is that? Oh, yeah, nice emote. I have yet to create a neat emote. I have 2 emotes and I want to make a bit emote. Sorry? That Jack in the office, that busybody just comes and sticks his oar in whatever we ask him not. How am I? Doing well. We just had brunch, essentially. We had some eggs and hash browns. And then we also read through some scripture on Numbers, which talked about Israel and the people who were left. So like a census before they head into the promised land. And also a bit of Luke when it talks about Jesus being at the temple and like teaching and astounding the other teachers there. And then we also read a bit of Psalms and Proverbs. That was great. And in the morning before, we were hanging out with Kenneth and we were actually reading through Ecclesiastes. It talks about the vanity of vanities, talks about a few kinds of vanities that are in chapter 1 and 2. There's like the vanity of wisdom, the vanity of man, my brain's kind of drawing a blank. Vanity of wisdom, vanity of, is it work or something? Stuff like that. And so we actually have a book that we use to read through it. Yeah, right here. Right here. Ecclesiastes. And so we're actually in week 3. And I have a bit of notes that I need to fill back up, but overall, it's pretty good. I've been liking it. How about you? How was your day so far? Mr. Sholmes has shown to the scene by Scotland Yard. Yep. There's nothing to do with me. The lads at the scene must have done it without my permission. Huh? Okay, what did he say before? So Mr. Sholmes has been interfering, I guess. Tell him time again, whenever something happens, send word to the headquarters and follow your blooming instructions. I see. If that meddler gets his hands on any details, we'll all be reading it in Rand's magazine next month. Visit your grandma. Oh, neat. There have been a lot of birthdays recently. It's been pretty fun as well. Yeah, I enjoy birthday parties and birthday celebrations to just hang with people. I bet their last farthing that I'll be in there, too, stripped of all my hard work on the case. Mr. Sholmes, no, Mr. Sholmes, aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the things I'll be getting. Inspector, and the man is proving detrimental to the yard's activities. Perhaps I should step in and deal with him? It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. The Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is this. That little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He admitted that these books all over the pavement at the scene were the ones he bought that day. Mysterious. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway this jury during the cross-examination, yeah. Let's hope his fate isn't sealed. Let's see. Visibility. No one else. Out of the blue. Collapsed on the pavement. Ran off, scattering all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. On his way home from it seems. That doesn't make sense. Because the thing is, he should have walked on the other side, right? He could just walk diagonal. Or across the street first. Because he could just walk like that and avoid this section. Because his house is over there. I would say On his way. Hmm. I guess we could press him? Hmm. There is pavement. Guess we just press it? Oh, we're wrong. Okay. Maybe there was a hint in our assistant. Hold on. Let's see. Hmm. Number of books he bought on his way. Yeah, it's just a matter of working out who the book. Then we found the book to arrest him. I'm really stuck. What do you think? You're unable to sway the testimony. Yeah. Visibility. Out of the blue. Stabbed from behind. Collapse on the pavement. Hmm. Yeah, belongings. Yep, 3 books. Carried all 3 books. On the other hand, carried the knife. Okay. Close the avenue of escape. Hmm. What was this? 2 shillings. And the receipt, picture of Monsieur looked at. Right. He bought it 15 minutes ago? Maybe it's that? Took him 15 minutes? Hmm. No. We're stuck here. Ah, guys, help me. Ah. Not really sure where we're getting at here. There's fog. Visibility was good. No one else was there. But the victim and the accused. And then out of the blue, we stabbed him from behind. Collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off. The belongings all over the floor. Hmm. Ah. Secondhand, daily basis, English literature, right? The bookshop. Look at the street map again. Secondhand cues, yeah. It happens, cues living in the lodgings on the other side of the opposite end, which means it doesn't take a genius. He went there, that, something like this. Right. Certainly have passed the scene of the crime. Yeah, I think that just told us good turn. Right, I agree. Second hand? Bourbon? Let's look at the history. Lodgings in this case here, bourbon books. Really makes for a good bookshop is the quality of the books they stock, right? Yes, sure. For example, you go to a shop, buy a serialized set of novels, but then you return home, you find your horror. The third volume is missing. I don't really get it. Exactly. That's the point. It's trying. I'm so goofy. Okay. No, I keep clicking on that. Ah! Click, 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 click. How about the name? Understand something, 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 something. I'm not getting what the inconsistency is. Ugh. Hmm. Right. I think that's also not. Add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony. Maybe? Maybe? Yes, it could be very important clue. Sure. I'm gonna sneeze. Ah, excuse me. Revise your testimony. Okay, so we got some improvement. For some reason, we have bourbon. Thinky. Okay. He's on his way home to Bourbon Books, a secondhand apparently patronizes. Okay, let's press that even more. So the shop is called Bourbon Books, is it? Yes. To get from there back, it's like there, right? You would have gone right back to the very spot where the incident. Oh, right. Isn't Bourbon really did visit Bourbon Books? Yeah, he didn't go to the Bourbon Books though. Yeah. We haven't confirmed it. Alright, we finally found our inconsistency. Let's go. The thing is, the shopkeeper's gone on a trip. Left the morning after the incident. to collect more stock unbilled. So we haven't been able to ask the book if the accused visited his shop in the day or not. Well, in that case, what did the defendant himself have to say about it? No recollection. What? According to the statement he made at the time, the accused had no recollection where he'd been. Of course he doesn't. He's been pretty nervous. Alright. We have some proof, though. So, let's see if we could... Just as a thought. Okay. We can contradict that Bourbon Books thing. Alright. Now let's present with the evidence. It's your books. Yeah. Alrighty. If I could just stop you there. What does it... Oh, he's talking about you. I'm kidding. I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt we found at Mr. Natsume's room. It's issued on the day of the incident. Details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. You found that in the accused room, did ya? Yep, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yep. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at the second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question wasn't Bourbon Books. What? Yep, Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yeah, I do. Your shop is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place I didn't think the accused would have known about it. But in fact, it is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it. For what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Actually, we do. I disagree. After all, I have a street map here, if that might be of help. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then sure, we could have crossed the person who got hurt. But if we take into account he was actually at another bookshop, possibly, he might have passed that location at all. Ooh, my. It rather depends on whether this other bookshop is. I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. Absolutely could be right. Let's shake up some evidence. Let's go. Where's this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It was here, maybe? Turns out Your Books. What's over there? In the corner of Meersham Street going east. Ooh. So we could have taken this route, technically. There you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. It might be still. The learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. You put that glass down now or I'll put it down for you. Didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon, that's one positive. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Actually, we'd have to prove that. Allow me to reiterate from I learned if somehow slow Nipponese friend. Whoa. Wherever the man purchased this musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. I doubt. There's a chance that he didn't. As I suspected, you can't fool me. I don't suggest you try. What did he say, eh? I had enough of this now, and then they're gonna they're gonna try to flop to go guilty. Beg your pardon, terribly sorry. Could you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may well decide Mr. Natsume is guilty. We must think. You must consider the assertion put forward by the prosecution very clearly. They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on the way, but obviously we're going to raise an objection. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. My lord, you can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route we take between two places, such as Calabash Road. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what's commonly referred as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Actually, part of the testimony we cleared that he kind of wanders. The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings of the obvious perpetrator of this crime. Actually, yes, I've got it. Obviously, once asked the man himself, did Mr. Natsume which route he took home? I've already informed the court of the accused's response in such a question. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly. See? Aimlessly. That day was no exception. He said he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. No. I don't believe it either. We're gonna strike it down. We're gonna put reasonable doubt where the juries are. We got this. Even if that is the case, the defense still... Is that my assistant? I agree with Lord Von Zykes wholeheartedly in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean? We members of the jury are completely convinced now. I hope not. I appreciate it. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty.
Oh. No. Whoa. We can convince them, right? We can still convince them that they're not guilty. Not guilty. It appears the jury's leaning is unanimous. We're gonna pull it out. We're gonna pull off a extreme turntable. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You served Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. Okay, let's fight for it. I have to tip the balance of those scales in another way. I have to turn this around, somehow. Those are the Azakori, not yet willing to give up and die. Yep, we're not giving up. Never. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? The rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that would have been buried long ago? That's right. Call it old if you will. But we're gonna defend our defendant. Let's go. Very well, Counsel. According to the letter of the law, we'll proceed the summation examination. Alright. Let's get him. Ladies and gentlemen, explain your grounds. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted himself, didn't he? No, he didn't. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in the winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. How are we supposed to find contradictions in that? The only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, only 2 people at the scene were victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. I doubt it. We can unconvince them. I'm sure we can. How are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker no one could see, right? It's impossible. How can we possibly make a case for the defense? No time for grumbling. Yeah, we want to force the trial to continue. Yep. Let's turn the tide. Let's go. Hey, Sean the Gamer. Hope you're doing well. Let's forge forward. Let's go. I have the floor. Let's just do that for now. Just in case he wants to go live, even though I doubt it. Doot. How are you doing? Have you been doing well today? Think. Alright, the defense's rebuttal. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity. Yeah, okay. Attack from behind. We press him? Hold it, you say? What? No, what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yeah. Enjoyed reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about. And what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5? That's exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? No mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. Dreadful time? What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on ice and donked my head. Hold on. Calabash Road, what's that? Calabash Road. He took this road and slipped. It's always worse after snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Your number 6. I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. May be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? Oh, I'm quite alright. Alright, let's see. It sends a shiver down my spine hearing the members of the jury so convinced of guilt. Can't help but feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. Alright, let's... Alright, let's keep listening to the jurors though. Alright, let's see. Let's press this guy. Cancel. Press. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Like you drew on the map, you mean? Yeah, what was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that counts whether little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yeah, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that he shows he did, is there? Well, that's true as well. And I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, did he? Yeah, that's annoying, true. Winter nights are dark and cold, and so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. The only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. Okay. Giving it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't make up my mind on a whim like he did. I mean, if there's some logical reason why he might have gone Calabash Roadway, it might be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Saseki might have taken the longer way home. A good reason. I don't imagine you'd be able to sway this young man's opinion with that one. Where's Cornish Road? I don't even know. Okay, let's press more of the people here. Excuse me, but are you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself 2 days ago. I had a feeling I knew your face, or the side of it anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was going swimmingly until you started bouzicking around. He was fair play. Was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Water under the bridge. Now, there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock, I don't know about the hatter. At least I'm in the clear now. Free to make up my own mind who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what become Mr. First now. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. You're right, at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to have seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite, that's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. clear that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. Let's not forget the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, this life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes? But if that's a lie you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, really, I couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself stated that there's nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, accused must be the man. Really, you couldn't be more simple. Your argument's compelling. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well for her. Okay. Whatever's the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Gerdeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's home. Master wife? Where'd you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid, you understand? She's keeping up that charade? This is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you've been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now. In that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? My goodness me, yes. He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in the dark, dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's enough condemning things already. Oh, let's hear him. Can we just wrap out something? Okay. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so's my family. It's like some of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. That's a biblical concept. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing, and if you're late, that work's taken. It's tough. This time of the year, there's water and gas supply lines bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk, it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident again, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. Another coincidence. That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. Meerschaum Street? On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there's only 3 named streets. Jury number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point of that? Can we get this business over with? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging up Meerschaum Street from dawn till dusk. And so, this is Meerschaum, so he's probably digging here, right? So, now we can pit it, I guess? Wait, we can talk him. We can press. So if I understand correctly, you're a day laborer and you're doing road maintenance that day. Like I said, you get a lot of bursts, gas, and water. It's the only time of the year fellows like me can actually make a few bob, and I'm missing out today. And when you say from dawn to dusk, the work has to be completed within the day, see. No coaches or pedestrian can pass while it's happening. Wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on the street map the exact location of the work site you were carrying out. Give it to you then. Let me have a look. Maybe like here or there? Let's see then. There we are. Bisham Street. Yeah, it's just there. It's a tidy dig, I can tell you. We can get through all the drifts of snow that had frozen solid. So we can actually... What's our trying to finish work? Well, we started in the morning and we can't have finished before gone 6, I'd say. Snow had stopped coming down, but it was long past dark for sure. That means the road was still going on when Miss Green was attacked around 5 o'clock. Yep. Mysterious. Alright, gonna turn on the light. Turning on the light. Yeah. Ah. And turn this on too. Alright. Let's see. Okay. We're gonna pit. So we're gonna pit this. We're gonna pit with this one. Alrighty. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. What? I just wanted to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5 words are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications. What's on our map now? Let's see what it says. On that day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books, and on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meersham Street, making it impassable, which means the defendant's route home is Calabash Road. Oh, yeah, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yeah, you can't argue with that really, can you? We must have had 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this: the defendant must have taken a longer route back to his lodgings. And that changes everything. I suppose that must have been right, eh? Juror number 3 said the following: the man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we now see you had no other choice. Yeah. My judge, if I may, let's swap-a-doo. Swap-a-roo. Man's not guilty. Yep, I'd like to see the trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. And we probably will get the worker to... maybe. What are you, sir? Me. Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in. That's what I say. Whoop whoop. We made it. We made it. Yeah. Alright. Well done, Mr. Naruto. That was wonderful. Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat. And it will prompt the other members of the jury to consider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if the current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely. That's exactly what we gotta do. Have to prevent whatever it means at our disposal. Yep, we do. Let me move this closer. There we go. On with the summation examination, please. Yep, we got to do it. How dreadful. Uh... Excuse me, but aren't you... Yeah, need there... Uh-huh. And... Okay. Now... If he said that a woman with green collapsed for his eyes, why, it could have only been the victim, right? How dreadful. Press. Hmm. Hmm. That was around 5 o'clock, you say, at the same time as the victim was attacked. I don't know anything about the girl who was stabbed, but my dinner is on the table at the same time every day. For the record, could you please identify the precise location of your fall? Goodness, it was eons ago. I'm not sure I can remember. It was 3 days ago. Try dredging your memory, please. Okay. Well, let me see. It was especially slippery around about... yes, I remember now. Just the corner, right there. What happened to you then? Were you alright? Well, you don't get too many people down Calabash Road, you see. So there was no one around when I fell. No one around when I knocked myself out. No one around when I came to again. No one around when I sneezed. So I picked myself up and went back to my nice warm house where my grandchildren were waiting for me. A sad and lonely picture you paint, sir. You were fortunate not to have frozen to death. Oof, that went dark. How lucky wasn't he wasn't more seriously injured. Sounds like it was very nearly another hospital admission or worse. Yes, one more thing. Were you wearing that same green overcoat on the day in question? Absolutely. It's the only coat I have. It took until this morning to dry it properly. Good job too, or I had nothing to wear here. Ooh, a green jacket. Ho ho ho. Suppose we should try... Two more to go. Deliver that finish blow now. Let's do it. Alright, let's pit. Let's pit. Alright. Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. Flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? What do you mean, sir? I think perhaps old man didn't hear you. But unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact that we can be sure here. The book receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been at your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. Then he returned home on foot. The man said he had no more recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. We're all aware of this. This young poor woman who was stabbed, obviously. Actually, can we really be sure of that, madam? What do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. The same afternoon, there was someone else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my. Huh? My goodness. You mean? That's right. I'm referring to, of course, juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of the eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench with me today? That's entirely possible, yeah. After all, the old man was someone similar built to the victim. Look at that. My goodness me. Sorry, you need a pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in green overcoat fell, on Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings, and if that were true, then clearly the crime scene on the Briar Road where the woman was stabbed is not on his way home. Oh my. We got out of it. The old man, if you hadn't been so daft as been roaming there, we'd have boxes off hours ago. Oh really? What were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? It's a crime for the elderly to walk these streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but you'd like to change your leaning, I presume? I do declare that I would. I would like to call for the verdict of not guilty. Thank you. I would too. Huh? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well? Aww. So cute. Well, we're back in the beginning. Well, that summation examination is concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. To use the noes for, oh, noes have it. No guilty, they say, which means we no longer have a consensus among the juries. The trial will continue.
Objection.
Oh, here we go. We're gonna get our next testimony. Oh. Could it seem churlish to me to drink from a hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? I wonder. To only crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Van Zykes? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence in describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Huh? Whatever do you mean? I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart jury member 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe he said it as a good 2 yards of the pavement which you have excavated, sir. Took me the whole day. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yard represents? I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. So we think he vaulted? Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had hoped of passing anyway. We just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The Q's no gentleman as far as I can see. I little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the sea. There could be no doubt that, on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Crush me in a single sentence. An old man. Cold man? You can talk? You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Well, he got knocked out, right? I can't say I remember. How about a wager? My learned friend, you say it was the old man that he accused saw. I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Ugh. Order, Lord Van Zykes, explain yourself. Lord? If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the examination? Wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? Lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Finally, we got new witnesses. Alright, bring forth the witnesses. Next witnesses? Naruto, don't you remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yeah, I remember that one of them being Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zykes brings to the stand, his witness, no matter what they say. I believe in Saseki-san. I know he's innocent, and I keep believing to the very end, until the battle is over. Gotta do that. To be continued. Right? Or not? Witnesses, please state your names and occupation for the court. Constable Rolly Beat. Sa. Nothing to report on the street, sa. I'm Miss Beat. Mrs. Beat. Is it Mrs. Beat? Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town's hero's wife. He's so sleepy. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from the rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't be just falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. What is beat? Is that like his road? The London Bobby is a man of honor. Man, poor guy. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. Briar Road. They witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Miss Beetle? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Pizza. Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Not impressed. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You'll tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. Alright, let's hear it. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There's no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over the course and went for help at the nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the crime scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. Let's see about that. What an unfortunate be chancing, and on your wedding anniversary too. Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. Thank the Lord for that. Life of London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it is without a doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Oh, exception that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Right, let's hear it. Enough preamble. Let's do it. Let's cross-examine this cabal. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There's no time to change after work. Okay. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog onto the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. The other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day. Okay, so that's it, is it? That's our entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Well, she didn't say he was stabbed, though. He stabbed her. That's true. Where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict at this testimony. Kazuma-sama, we're here. What were you trying to say? I think you were trying to find a contradiction somewhere else with their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? The test statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Putting that into question won't help, but if you could identify some other part in the testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them. To make the jury doubt if the pair's memories of the day is accurate. Right, okay. Let's focus on finding the discrepancy. I'm afraid the trial might reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always feel like I'm always up against it? Okay. Wedding anniversary, let's press. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and elderly can't do the job, can ya? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were headed back to the station. I actually planned on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, doesn't that seem healthy? That doesn't seem healthy. Coming here to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, Sa. Yes, of course. I was fit to drop. Be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. The policing's my life, Sa. As long as I'm proud of owner of this, I serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, Sa. Proof that I'm a London copper. It was the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder of all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of common man. Sa. And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But Sa, just on that particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beats, with a lot being married to a Bobby like me, I want to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog onto the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then all the others scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at the nearby police box. It's definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Let's press. We want more descriptive stuff. Two silhouettes. They were coming towards us, walking up by a roll in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. It does sound exactly like the victim pictured in this print, like Mr. Natsume. Unfortunately, it does. And you're certain at the time there was nobody else nearby? Yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There's nobody else around. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yeah, that's right. Of course, there was light fog on the ground, but Briar Road is dead straight. You could see a fairly long way down the pavement. Then there's a street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said? Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, dear. They're still maintaining there's no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It starts to seem that they must be really what happened. Beginning to seem there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonable, clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? All of a sudden, one of them collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off. But just scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time, but when we got closer, I realized that it was... Didn't we, darling? What? Yeah, that's right. It was some old books. I see old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured on this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Hold it, hold it. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock, without a question, sir. The mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right. We looked at the poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem to as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife? Now please, continue. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We ran straight over, of course, and went for help at a nearby police box. What exactly does that mean? Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I'm a proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yeah, that's right. I asked Miss Beadle to go. I was off duty by that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt I obliged to stay and guard the scene. I wonder if I could get more light in here. Hold on. Ugh. Get more light. All the lights. Ugh. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. Actions of two model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day. Okay. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? You absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight. I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yeah. What of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe, but it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live in it, of course. Oh, it is, yes. When it's thick, you can't see the hand at the end of your own arm. Alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell for sure and certain that that was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? What? Yeah. It was the accused, and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one. I could, every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? That won't do, Miss Beat. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you'd like an opportunity to supplement your testimony, Miss Beat? Might that appease you? She wants to tell us more. How nice. Thank you, that would settle things nicely. What is, darling? Okay, tell us more. Could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped. 4 books? Interesting. Ah yes, we know that there are books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over at the area for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard, don't you, my darling? Interestingly, regarding the scene of the crime. Well, Miss Beat, seeing as you regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of the Monsieur somebody or other, and the What's It Yearnings, and there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the Thingy Me something. You see? Yeah, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines as you put it. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean that the way you're implying my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, my darling? Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to. Yes, gun. What? Terrifying. She really is. So that's it. That's her entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Okay. Well, let's, I guess, push to find out more about the contradiction, right? We do have 3 books, so we gotta find out what her 4th book. I mean, there are only 3 books, right? So, let's that. So you're saying that there are 4 books? That's right, I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, and a meal for somebody. And the thing gave me something. I'm sorry, Mrs. B, but there's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no, what flaw? I believe that at the scene of the crime, there are only 3 books, not 4. This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsumi's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you, 4 dirty old books. Oh really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear, I saw them. No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation can't be relied on. So it can't be denied that though you may say it was a defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no, no, no. No!
Objection.
Maybe he's found the 4th book. It's plainly evident that it's your powers of deduction that can't be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What can't be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused man running from the scene, and the fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven over to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with the toast. To the policeman's wife, her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of the Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. Okay, I'm objecting, but what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. So there's another print? Allow me to present another one that shows the victim's hand. It has chewed up book. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. Well, that's not evidence we had. No! Order, order. There, you see, look at that. Look. Just like I said, isn't it, darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let's study the receipt for the book purchased by the accused on the day in question. The titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, The Picture of Monsieur Somebody or Other. The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq. What's It Yearnings? Canterbury Yearnings. A Meal for Someone. A Meal for Gabreau, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly save for a few minor details. Miss Beast's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional. It's true. Did you hear that, Rolly? That gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. These are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The Lionels thing. The victim was holding her own book? Victim was holding... Wonder what became of that fourth book. It wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. Well, we really need to look at that evidence. Will you submit that as photographic print too? Alright, my pleasure, my lord. The second crime scene photograph added. And the book. The Lion's Pride. That reminds me of something. Prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. Your resistance until now had been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination and the attempted discrediting of the witness powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we said is true. Is that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Maybe, Pat. What? So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions? Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. Trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terrible, precarious position. We still haven't looked at the evidence, though. Lion's Pride. Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of that book by that name before. Very recently, too. Title I recognize, too. Oh. Was it stolen from... This book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. Book recently damaged by fire. Seems pretty sus. But if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well make the matters worse. I think, Ryunosuke, what do you do now? I guess I'll raise an objection. I don't know. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. That's last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate. Well, I might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Von Sykes, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your significant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer, so you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Mr. Susato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? Oh, epitome, thanks for the lyric. What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Yeah. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? Yeah, I think so. It's just possible that this new evidence might be decisive proof we've been waiting for. I think so too. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. Alright, and of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is why. And so we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yeah, I get it. Thank you. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go. Alright, the defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into the case that's hitherto to be overlooked. Every time, I can't believe how badly burnt it is. I can't believe that terrible waste it is. The more I look at the damage, the more I'm sure it must have happened very recently, too. Yep, yippity-doo, doopity-doo-doo-dee-doo. We're gonna present this. The evidence in this question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand. You've already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a frightening waste of the court's time as well, you know. Huh? Yes. I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. I must insist you elaborate, counsel. Will you identify this clue at once? Do I mistake myself clear? Yeah, my lord. Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yeah, might be right. Okay, let's do it. Counsel, precisely where's the vital clue to this case? Well, let's look at the thing, right? We've read through this, but it keeps counting as a new dialogue. I'd ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Oh, good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It's undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have doing. Yep, I agree so too. Unnatural, you say? What of it, my Nipponese friend? Were I to concede the point, it bears no relation to the case. There's nothing to discuss. So, shouldn't you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do you enlighten us all? What truth does this charred book hide? Where she's been? A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage? It's the owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell on the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. How could you possibly? Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble is a waste. The defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim the owner of this burnt book? We actually have this guy. It's John Garrett. Yep. The answer of the book belongs to the couple who owned the house where the defendant had his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. The landlords? And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen on jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Miss Garrett herself. Oh, my goodness. Me? I think you must have been mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrett's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrett's house? I would never presume to know all the books that he keeps, sir. This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirched her without a shred of evidence? Your actions are unforgivable. This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed at the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house. What sort of incidents, counsel? Fire, my lord. Frick to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place was filled with smoke and couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of all is I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. Ooh, The Lion's Pride. Right over the very same title. That's the subject of this debate. Oh dear me. This is risible. All you've told the court is that the book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case would be reasonable to assume that it was burned to ashes. And the entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removes itself from the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if you told the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrett was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrett even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love, can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. Why, Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Ooh. Had all my favorite old novels in that case, but as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in the smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him? Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime? Could be anything. No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted at the very evening of the incident, and there was no report of Garrett's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when he visited the Garrett household. What's the mystery? But it's not conceivable that the window was open at the time, and not even remotely. Let's not forget the season, the chilling winter that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown at Mr. Garrett's wife? Wait, what? Thrown by her? Yeah. Very much possibly. That's quite enough. Do we have his... I hope that everyone can see for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. I mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight? Honestly, Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake? How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. I assure you that it's never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I would box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Oh, here we go. They're flopping to accuse him of a guilty. At the end of the day, the only person who could have possibly stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with a mustache, and he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. It's true. What did I tell you? That makes sense to me. Huh? Sorry? What was that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are again in full agreement. What's your position, Lord Van Zykes? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order for us to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. No, forgive the discourtesy this time? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you'll now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty. Guilty.
Wow.
Guilty. Guilty.
No! No. We gotta turn the tables. Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting? Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You still have one more chance. The defense asks you to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Alright. I think this is to be continued. Should we continue?